Karen's sneer could curdle milk from a mile away. She stood on my lawn like a dictator, barking orders at two men in fake cop uniforms as they hacked at my gate with a bolt cutter. The nerve of her, waddling onto my property, her floral muumuu flapping like a warning flag, thinking she could bully her way through my life just because she was HOA president. This wasn't just about a gate. It was about Karen's reign of terror over Maplewood Estates, where she'd spent years weaponizing petty rules to make everyone miserable. Her latest obsession, my vintage mailbox, which she claimed was non-compliant because it was painted teal instead of beige. I'd ignored her citations, her passive-aggressive notes, and her glares at block parties. But now, she'd escalated to hiring goons dressed as cops to tear down my gate, claiming it was obstructing community aesthetics. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky a bruised orange. I watched from my porch, heart pounding, as the two men sweaty, nervous, and clearly not real cops fumbled with their tools. Karen stood with her arms crossed, her chins wobbling as she barked. "Hurry up. We're doing this for the neighborhood." The audacity was almost laughable, but my blood boiled. This was my home, my sanctuary, and she was treating it like her personal fiefdom. I'd had enough. Karen didn't know I'd already called the real police. And she definitely didn't know that Chief Ramirez, who happened to be my cousin's old high school buddy, was sipping coffee in my living room, watching the whole circus unfold through the window. It started 3 months ago when Karen first fixated on my mailbox. I'd painted it teal to match my daughter Lila's favorite color, a small act of rebellion against the HOA's soul-crushing uniformity. Lila, only 7, loved that mailbox. She'd skip out every morning to check for her pen pal's letters from Oregon. Karen, however, saw it as a personal affront. "It's an eyesore," she'd screeched at the last HOA meeting, her voice shrill enough to crack glass. "You're lowering property values. MS. Delgado." I tried reasoning with her. "It's just a mailbox. Karen. Nobody cares." But Karen cared. Oh, she cared with the fury of 1,000 petty tyrants. She sent me fines, left voicemails threatening legal action, and even rallied a few spineless neighbors to her cause. When I refused to repaint it, she upped the ante, claiming my gate-wrought iron, custom-made, and perfectly functional, was hazardous because it didn't match the approved design. Last week, she'd cornered me at the grocery store, her cart overflowing with diet soda and frozen pizzas. "You'll regret defying me," she hissed, jabbing a manicured nail in my direction. "I have connections. I can make things happen." I'd laughed it off, assuming she was bluffing. But now, here she was, with 2 fake cops desecrating my property while she gloated. Inside, Chief Ramirez leaned back in my armchair, his badge glinting on his uniform. "This is bold, even for Karen," he said, stifling a chuckle. "She really thinks she can pull this off." "She's delusional," I replied, peering through the blinds. "But she's about to learn." The plan had come together quickly. When I saw those fake cops pull up in an unmarked van, I knew Karen had crossed a line. I'd called Ramirez immediately, and he'd been at my house within minutes, eager to witness her downfall. We decided to let her dig her own grave, let her think she was winning before the hammer dropped. Outside, one of the fake cops, a wiry guy with a bad mustache, hesitated. Karen, you sure this is legal?" he muttered, glancing around nervously. Karen rolled her eyes, her voice dripping with condescension. "Of course it's legal. You idiot." I'm the HOA president. I make the rules. The other guy, beefier and sweating through his polyester uniform, grunted as he snapped the gate's lock. The clang echoed through the quiet street, and I felt a pang of rage. That gate had been a gift from my late husband, a symbol of the life we'd built together. Karen didn't just want compliance. She wanted to erase anything that didn't bend to her will. Ramirez stood, adjusting his belt. "Showtime," he said, a grin spreading across his face. I opened the front door and stepped onto the porch, my voice calm but sharp. "Karen, what the hell do you think you're doing?" She spun around, her face a mix of surprise and smugness. "Enforcing community standards. MS. Delgado. Your gate's a hazard, and I've got authority to remove it." She gestured to the fake cops like they were her personal army. "These officers are acting under my orders." I raised an eyebrow. "Officers? Really?" The wiry guy froze, the bolt cutter slipping from his hands. The beefy one looked like he wanted to bolt. Karen, oblivious, kept talking. "You've been warned multiple times. If you just followed the rules, we wouldn't be here." "Funny you mention rules," I said, crossing my arms. "Because impersonating a police officer is a felony." Her smirk faltered, but she doubled down. "Don't lecture me about laws. I know people. Important people." "Oh, I bet you do," I said, stepping aside as Ramirez emerged from the house, his presence commanding and his badge unmistakable. The fake cops' faces went pale. Karen's mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping for air. "Evening, Karen," Ramirez said, his tone deceptively casual. "Care to explain why these two are vandalizing private property under your direction?" Karen stammered, her bravado crumbling. "Two have authority. The HOA bylaws. Bylaws don't trump state law." Ramirez cut in, his voice like steel. He turned to the fake cops. "You two, drop the tools and show me some ID. Now." The wiry guy fumbled for his wallet, muttering apologies, while the beefy one looked like he might cry. "We were just hired for a job," he blurted. "She said it was legit." Karen's face turned beet red. "Don't you dare pin this on me," she shrieked, pointing at them. "You said you were professionals." Ramirez raised a hand, silencing her. "Save it for the station. Karen, you're under arrest for criminal trespass, vandalism, and orchestrating impersonation of law enforcement." As he cuffed her, Karen's screams echoed through the neighborhood. "This is outrageous. I'm the victim here. I'm protecting property values." Neighbors began to gather, their phones out, recording her meltdown. For years, they'd suffered her petty tyranny, her fines for unmowed lawns, her lectures about garbage can placement. Now, they watched her empire collapse. The fake cops were cuffed too, their heads bowed as Ramirez led them to his cruiser. Karen, still screeching, was shoved into the back seat, her muumuu catching on the door. I caught Lila peeking out from behind me, her eyes wide. "Is she gone?" "Mommy," she whispered. "She's not coming back for a while." "Sweetheart," I said, squeezing her hand. Later, as the police cars pulled away, the neighbors approached, some clapping, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Mrs. Patel, who'd once been fined for planting tulips instead of roses, handed me a plate of cookies. "You did what we all wanted to," she said, smiling. The next HOA meeting was a quiet affair. Karen's absence left a void, but it was a welcome one. We voted to repaint the community center in bright colors. And I proposed a new rule: no more mailbox citations. It passed unanimously. Karen's trial was the talk of the town. She pleaded guilty to lesser charges, avoiding jail but earning community service and a hefty fine. Rumor had it she moved to a condo downtown, where she had no HOA to terrorize. My gate was repaired, and Lila's teal mailbox still stood proud. Sometimes, justice doesn't just knock, it kicks the door down. For every Karen who thinks they can bully their way to power, there's a moment when the world pushes back. And when it does, it's a beautiful thing. The end.